I convene the March 25th, 2026 regular board meeting to order at 7 p.m. Jackie, please call the roll.
Emily Swissack.
Here.
Vanessa Berry.
Here.
Debbie Bryan.
Here.
Josh Martin, absent. Karen Larson.
Here.
Laura Paley.
Here.
Liz Sullivan.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 2 is opportunity for visitors to speak. Public comment is for the general public to address the board. Each person will have up to 5 minutes to provide public comments. Welcome.
Thank you. President Swissack, thank you for the opportunity to address the board this evening. My name is Mike Quintero. I'm a Lisle resident and a longtime patron of the Lisle Library. I saw on today's agenda that there will be a discussion regarding 725 Front Street, and I watched the last meeting's brief discussion regarding this issue as well. I would agree with the comments that Trustees Sullivan and Martin made during the last meeting. The library is landlocked in a landlocked town. There's not a lot of open space in Lisle, not a lot of opportunities for a major cultural institution like this to build a new facility elsewhere. Previous boards who tried to find alternate locations for the library discovered the difficulties in doing so. I remember in particular unsuccessful attempts to join with some of the downtown developers to incorporate the library into some of those new high-rises. As a result, I think the library will be here at the intersection of Front and Kingston for the foreseeable future. And consequently, both of the library's vacant lots are literally priceless to the library, in that once sold, they, and the flexibility for the library that they embody, will not become available again for purchase in our lifetimes. The only reason they're available to the library when they were purchased in 2004 and 2013 was because the two lots were occupied by old buildings that had reached the end of their useful lives and had little value. This will change once those lots are sold. Someone will build something new there, and that something new will be around for decades, and the library will be even more landlocked than it is right now. I've mentioned this in these meetings in the past, but I would like to remind you that Lombard's Helen Plum Library, even after a successful referendum to build a new library, spent years trying to identify a suitable location in Lombard to actually build the darn thing. The referendum passed in the fall of 2016. You may remember that they didn't break ground until 2021, and it didn't open until 2023, all because they didn't have land to build it on. They would have loved to have been in the Lisle Library's position. I know at this point, after the recent beautiful renovation of this facility with the smell of fresh paint and newly cut lumber still lingering in the air, that it seems inconceivable that we should think about such a thing as renovating or replacing this wonderful space. But when I entered the library today, I looked closely at the ceremonial plaques hanging at the entrance, marking the original construction of this building nearly a half century ago and its two subsequent renovations. And I thought about the board members listed on each one. It was probably hard for them to imagine in those moments of triumph that their brand new facility would ever need to be renovated. But those boards in the past did imagine it and planned for it. They put money aside for the future and wisely took advantage of unique opportunities when they arose. For every trustee named on each one of those plaques, there were probably half a dozen other trustees who anonymously laid the groundwork for those successes in the years before those achievements. The planning horizon of an institution like this isn't months or fiscal quarters or years, it's decades. And it seems certain that there will come a time in that foreseeable future when a board, like all those past boards, will see the need to expand or replace this building, either to accommodate new technologies or new services to the community, or possibly just something as simple as sufficient, appropriately sized meeting spaces. That future board will thank you for your foresight today. Getting rid of those vacant lots isn't exactly eating your seed corn, but it's awfully close. One other thing, I mentioned I'm a longtime Lisle resident, and my primary interest here is as a fan and supporter of the library. But I'm also a neighbor with a neighbor's concerns. Being close to the library has many benefits, certainly, but the fact that my home is adjacent to a major public building is unavoidable and inescapable. However, the presence of this bustling public building in a residential neighborhood is made much more palatable by the fact that there are these wooded areas with tall trees and thick brush between the library with its streetlights and its headlights and your neighbors. Those natural barriers help to block the lights and the sounds of a busy public place and act as a natural buffer between this public place and the private homes around it in a way that a fence never could. And quoting from a comment in the 2017 engagement survey, the library's native landscape is iconic Lisle. Based on the other comments I've heard at these meetings, I think there are many others who enjoy the natural environment surrounding the library too. This is the Arboretum Village, after all. I hope that while evaluating this decision, the library will keep in mind the merits of maintaining this sort of natural woodland transition barrier between the library and your neighbors as well. Thank you again for this opportunity to address the board.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Would you like to speak?
No.
Okay.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 3 acknowledges that Trustee Paley and Trustee Sullivan reviewed the February billings in March, and that Secretary Martin and Trustee Larson will review the March billings in April. Agenda item number 4 is the consent agenda. Is there a trustee who wishes to pull something from the consent agenda? If not, may I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the February 18th, 2026 board meeting and executive session, acknowledgement of the February 28th, 2026 treasurer's report, investment activity report, current assets report, revenue report, expense report, and authorization of the March 25th payment of bills, which was extended from March 18th due to the rescheduling of the regular board meeting from the 18th to the 25th.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Emily Swistak,
Aye.
Vanessa Berry,
Aye.
Debbie Bryan,
Aye.
Karen Larson,
Aye.
Laura Paley,
Aye.
Liz Sullivan,
Aye.
Okay, motion passes, thank you. Agenda item number 5 is unfinished business. 5A 1 and 2 includes the BAS project and lot development project. Mark, would you please update the board on these projects?
Sure. Still here talking about the BAS update. They are still coming out. We'll might have more data from, or touch point from last week Friday, which they were supposedly coming out. They did not provide an update in a written email like Will has recently requested, but I do believe they are still intending and planning to come out. So we are going to continue pushing instead of taking another avenue at this moment unless there's an objection to doing so. Just keep pulling as much out of them as we can. I don't know if you have anything further from your kind of correspondence or not.
Unfortunately, no. They are coming out and doing work, and we haven't had any major issues. But I'm going to continue monitoring them as well as I can. And they still owe me training as well once they are finally, when both sides agree that they have come to completion. So hopefully not that much longer, but still at least longer with us for the time being.
I'll note that they have not submitted any additional bills. They have not actually responded to previous. They sent a bill saying they were done. We said, you're not done, essentially in short terms. They have not requested further payment on that bill. It's still outstanding. So they're continuing to come out. And that's why we're kind of leaving it as is for the moment. So that's that one. And the good thing is we don't have major issues, I guess. That's for now, knock on wood. Nature Trail Development Project, though, status update. We did have, and I attended the committee meeting with some of you 2 weeks ago, was it roughly? With Ellers providing their cash flow, walk through that. I can provide a recap of that if anyone would like, and those in the committee I'm sure can as well. The short story is when you fed in the cost of the project into the cash flow, from my summary of what Ellers presented, or takeaway, the library never got to a point where it was detrimental to the overall capital planning and or general accounts to the library district. That said, obviously it's up to the board and the library to decide, okay, do we want to take next steps? When do we want to take next steps? What are those next steps? So those next steps would include re-engaging with Tara or anyone else, but Tara was the one firm that had done the planning, presented a proposal to the library. If the board would like to proceed with the project, our next step would be to reach out to them, reconfirm that their proposal remains the same, and then bring that back to the board for future consideration at a next board meeting. If we were to do that, I could foresee design taking the balance of this year with not rushing it. In other words, we could get it done quicker, but really the benefit of that would be trying to get into construction sooner, which you're not going to do in the middle of winter. So you're not going to want to necessarily rush the design process for the sake of it. Really what we'd look to do is probably go through contractor procurement in Q4 of this year, and then as soon as the ground starts thawing, like this time next year, is when you'd probably start to see that work occur. We'd work with everyone to figure out what the best fit would be, but that's just kind of a realistic pattern forward. We still do think that the project budget could be in the range of $1.25 million. That's including the bridge option or a bridge option across, we'd work through to see, okay, are there different value options that might bring some of that number down? But that's kind of a good placeholder, and that is what Eller's used in their planning, as well as general capital improvement needs that might be needed by the library over the next 10 years. So it wasn't just this project, it was the general capital needs of a building that had been recently renovated, but will need some work, like a road project or something like that in the next 10 years. So really, I'm here tonight to see if, there is any appetite to continuing those conversations, or, just general discussions or questions. I don't know, Director Weinstein, if you had anything else you want to add?
I wanted you to refresh us. When Tara presented us with that proposal for the project, was that the proposal the board would need to vote on to move forward with them? Did we already share that?
I think we might have shared that, and that is the proposal. And I know that there were some breakouts within the proposal of the different phases of the project. In other words, you could, in theory, approve the whole contract, but we are, and some of you may remember this from the renovation project, you might be approving the whole contract, but there's stopgaps in between. So in other words, if you decided to put a hold on something and not go forward with construction, you're not paying for the whole contract, you're paying for what was completed to the phases to that date.
So we could see that, we could bring back that proposal for the April board meeting and have a more full discussion on that, and then have an action item on the agenda to move forward with Tara if the board chose to do so.
Mhm.
Right, okay.
So it'd be more just kind of a thumbs up, or to go talk to them about that. We wouldn't want to bring them back and forth too many times, but if it's something that you'd want to consider, then April would be a good timing to do that.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll take that as a.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, it's
for
not.
consideration, yeah, all right.
To bring it back to April, and then we can have a deeper discussion about it and an action item.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Understood. And that's really it. I'm here for questions if you have any.
Thanks, Mark. Does anyone have any questions for Mark?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can join the peanut gallery now.
All right,
Thanks,
Mark.
You can stay there. You can sit there.
Okay, 5B is a discussion and vote on library property 725 Front Street. I'll begin discussion by outlining what we can discuss and what we'll vote on. The property was professionally appraised, and trustees are aware of the appraisal amount. This appraisal amount will remain confidential until the board makes a definitive decision about selling the property. Tonight's vote is whether to sell or not to sell the property. There are three options for voting. One is to sell and determine a price in an April executive session. Two is to not sell at this time and continue discussions about developing the property where the appraisal remains confidential until a decision has been made. And three, to not sell, period, and the appraisal becomes public knowledge. Okay, so we're going to discuss first, again, not revealing the appraisal amount, okay, because that remains confidential. And then after our discussion, I'll entertain one of the three motion options that I just went over, okay? Okay, so typically when we have these discussions, I kind of put it out to everyone else and let you all say your opinions and everything first, and tonight I wanted to speak first. So everyone will still have their opportunity to speak, but I wanted to go first tonight. So I am in the camp of not selling at this time, but continuing discussions about potentially doing something with the property later, so that the appraisal remains confidential at this time. So that's where I'm at. But I would like to go around the table and have everyone else share their thoughts and what they want to discuss and how they're feeling about it, and then we can do a motion. So I'm gonna go counterclockwise.
Oh, boy.
So Laura.
Yeah. No, reviewing what we have in front of us and knowing what we've talked about over the last month or two, I agree with you, President Sustek. I think now is not the time to sell, but we should continue to kind of explore our options for the future and let that be what it is and see where it goes.
Okay, thank you. Karen?
I agree with Laura, not to sell at this time, but to continue discussions on development.
Thank you. Liz?
The same here.
Okay, great, thank you. Debbie?
I agree, based on especially our finance committee meeting and what was we kind of saw with our financial, I don't think there's any need at this point to pursue it, but it's definitely, good to keep it confidential in case we do come up with something we'd like to do with it.
Okay. Thank you. Vanessa?
I agree too. I feel like
it doesn't make sense just to sell.
Right.
And if we're, like, the library doesn't need the money and like we heard earlier, like in 10 years, we might want that property for something else. It doesn't make sense to get rid of it.
Right.
Okay, so it sounds like we all are at a consensus, so then may I have a motion and a second?
I move to not sell LLD property 725 Front Street at this time and continue discussions on development options or the viability of selling.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, Jackie, please call the roll.
Emily Swistek,
Aye.
Vanessa Berry,
Aye.
Debbie Bryan,
Aye.
Karen Larson,
Aye.
Laura Paley,
Aye.
Liz Sullivan.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, moving on, agenda item 6 is committee reports. 6A is finance. We did have a meeting.
We did on March 9th, and it was great. Tammy Ozus, I just pulled it up, Olszewski, gave us a really great recap of our portfolio and went through, everything, with our 10-year plan and showed how, things would fit in there. And as we are all kind of indicating, we felt really, really good about where we were at financially and moving forward on that project, but still having enough money for any future issues that might come up. So, yeah, it was a great meeting.
Anyone else have anything to add that was at that meeting? Okay, great, thank you. 6B is personnel and policy.
We will be scheduling a meeting soon.
Yes, sorry, I was just looking at my finance committee notes. I would like to put out 2 dates
Okay.
for, Vanessa, Karen, Laura, and Emily.
Okay.
All right, this is the committee meeting date, so April 22nd, which is a Wednesday, or April 30th, which is a Thursday, both at 7 PM.
April 26th.
I cannot do the 30th.
So 22nd is a Wednesday.
22nd works.
22nd works for me too.
22nd should work for me as well.
That's
my
like
gosh.
B.
You guys
Got
are
it.
so agreeable.
Look at us.
Wednesdays are usually good for people.
Yeah.
so, Okay,
And at,
we got it.
what time? 7 PM? Okay.
Perfect.
Great.
You got that,
Teresa?
Jackie?
I got it, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Okay,
That was easy.
perfect. That's great, okay, thank you. And then 6C is physical plant. Nothing coming up, right? Okay. All right, so then moving on, agenda item number 7 is staff reports. 7A is the director's report. Dr. Weinstein.
Okay, so you saw my first item in my report, we have a bit of a write-up about the WCAG, that's the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. These are updated regulations for Title II of the American with Disabilities Act. And just in a nutshell, these regulations are there to make sure that our web content is accessible for those with disabilities. Our deadline for compliance is April of 2027, so we've got a year. And that's for populations that are under 50,000. So those who have populations above that should already be in compliance. We have a full year to take care of this. This compliance deadline for the 50 or below applies to all state and local governments. That includes public schools, the police department, the park district, election offices, and public libraries, us. So it's gonna involve ensuring that all of our web content, our apps, our social media, and this includes like PDFs on the website, so like all our board packets are accessible, our videos that are on our social media too are accessible. So we already implement some of these accessibility methods, like we do alt text or alternative text on our photos and things like that, but there's more to do. So I'm very happy we have a year to do this. So we've already had some meetings with our department directors and our IT staff to make sure that we can start implementing some of this. But I bring this up in this meeting and in the report because you'll probably see an invoice come your way. We are going to purchase some software that helps us with mostly the PDFs and making sure they're accessible. Just because we have purchased software for this, it doesn't mean that there's not manual manipulation that will need to be involved. So it is a big project for every local institution. It's a good project, but it's gonna take a lot of effort for a number of staff to make sure that everything is accessible. So that is that. Any questions? Just wanna warn you, there's gonna be a bill. Actually, a lot of the software is not that expensive for this purpose, but it's a lot of man and woman hours put in. We already, my next item is the finance committee, and trustee Brian already did a great recap of that. Just the next step is we're gonna involve budgeting for all of our projects, including some of the facility projects and the project that Mark brought up. So we're gonna start that budget process, and in April, you'll see the first draft of that budget.
Great.
We'll include that. And then next, we've had a couple of successful events and meetings with the Lisle Police Department this past month. I mentioned earlier this year that we acquired 5 policing textbooks for the Adult Services Reference Collection. Those are available for the public, but they were also requested by the police department because they were going through officer testing, and they were also scheduling officers to do some study time at the library. So they're not only available for the public, but for our police department. We also proctored a test here. We didn't, but we provided the room for the test for officers. I don't know the results of those tests, but everything went smoothly, and they really appreciated using the library for that purpose. And then secondly, I coordinated a meeting with the Lisle Police Department and the Park District to discuss patron behavior matters and when we need to call police, if we need to call police for those incidents, and also for incidents if we needed to ban somebody for a period of time. So we all wanted to be on the same page and talk about what would be needed for those cases. So it was Assistant Director Savage, myself, Park District Director Garby, Assistant Park District Director Pratcher was there, and then our 2 new commanders, Terranova and Aiken, as well as Chief Rodriguez there. So we outlined some staff procedures. We're still in the mix of updating our procedures. They don't vary from what we already do, but there's some nuanced and some semantics we need to change in our procedures, and we're already having PIC training, person in charge training for those things. And I think it benefited the Park District too, so we're all on the same page. So that went very well. And then just 2 things that aren't in my report, but I wanted to mention. The library is promoting the advocacy for digital access. There's an act in the House. It's called the Digital Library Protection Act, HB 5236. Other libraries are also promoting this. It's an ILA initiative. It's we've had posts on social media about it. It's a law we're trying to pass a law and support a law so that public libraries aren't overcharged for their digital products that we purchase for patron use. And I believe it was Elizabeth Hopkins who came in and did a presentation about how much more the public libraries have to pay for like ebooks and streaming services versus an individual purchasing it for themselves. So we're trying to get those costs lowered, and we've posted things to social media. And then just lastly, I just wanted you to know I've agreed to mentor a student at COD for a library science program. This happens every year. COD reaches out. Usually we have 1 or 2 meetings with a student in the library science program. I answer questions online sometimes for them. I just did one today. You have 1 meeting, and then they're going through the library science. And other staff have done this too. I know Will's done it in the past, and other department directors have done it. So that's my report.
Great.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for the director?
No.
Okay. Then 7B, is the Assistant Director's report. Assistant Director Savage.
Thank you. All right, so starting at the top, the BAS Mark already alluded to has kind of remained the same, so we're still ongoing with that. Plumbers came out to finally sort out the east end men's room. They replaced 2 solenoids in the urinals, which is basically the electrical component that controls the full opening and closing of the flush mechanism. So we haven't had any issues since, so knock on wood. The HVAC mechanicals, humidifiers on both sides of the building needed to be addressed, so OneSource came out and handled the repairs on those. We also had our quarterly PMs this week, where they come out and just do a once-over of all the mechanical aspects of the system, as well as changing out the air filters. So that was done on Monday. Doors. So these doors are the ones that go to all of our public restrooms with the hand wave. Many of them needed to be recalibrated. Some were getting loose from their mounting up on the walls. So 5 of the 7 of them, I have an error in there. There are 7 of those doors. Were able to be calibrated fine. Unfortunately, 2 of them had circuit panel issues that require replacement. So the tech goes back to back to the home office. They figure out what parts they need. They order them. They reach out to me about when we can get it scheduled. So we are on that half of the project. Fortunately, the doors still function. They just one opens a little too far so that it hits the wall. So we've had the guys put a doorstop there and put mounted a board on it so it doesn't keep bashing the drywall. And the other one closes a little too quickly. It's
Not dangerous.
It's not dangerous. It is. It's one of those that it is functional now, but if we don't address it, it will get worse. So we take care of it now before it becomes a problem, and before that like missing piece then, or that part that's malfunctioning causes other damage, so that we don't have to replace the entire unit as opposed to just one little part. And then we had the first of several elevator inspections about a month ago. They noticed an issue with the phone line in the elevator that it had to have another circuit panel replaced. They came out and took care of that during this month, so we are all thumbs up on that note. That's all I've got.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any additional questions for the assistant director? Okay, thank you. All right, moving on, item 8 is new business. 8A is an announcement for a request for proposal, RFP, for cleaning services for the library. The library will go out to bid as of April 1st. Trustees are aware of the RFP particulars. This is simply an announcement for the public, but if trustees have questions about the RFP before it goes public, please ask them now. Anyone? Okay. If not, we've made the statutory announcement, and more information will be available as of April 1st on the LLD website, and a notice will also be posted in the Daily Herald. Okay. Item 9 is the opportunity for trustee comments. I'm gonna go the other way around, so we'll start with Vanessa.
So with what Tatiana was talking about with the Illinois Library Association's work with the state, there's a Zoom meeting tomorrow at noon, if anyone's interested. They're gonna be, I think, giving a recap of what happened in the committee meeting yesterday and talk about like what actions we can take going forward to get that bill passed. I'm planning on attending, so I can update you guys at the next meeting.
Great,
Awesome.
thank you.
Thanks.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, Debbie?
I have nothing today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing at this time,
Okay.
thank you.
Karen?
No, nothing at this time either.
Okay. Laura?
I'm gonna slow things down for a minute. No, I wanted to comment actually on some of the social media posting that I saw up about the Digital Library Protection Act, and I think that is really critical. I thank you for doing that, because I think it's important for all of our patrons and our taxpayers to know that these are our taxpayer dollars that are being spent. And some of the comparisons in the post that I saw over the cost that it costs the library versus a private citizen purchasing is, I do think that's important. I think a lot of residents don't know
How
that that's
expensive it
happening
is.
and how outrageously expensive it is, and that this is
Crazy.
our taxpayer dollars kind of being wasted. So thank you for doing that. I do think people don't think about that kind of thing, and when it comes time to think about everything being so much more expensive, the library is a great place to go, but we are still paying for that, and we're trying to be responsible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and then I'll go last. I just wanted to say that I really appreciate all the intergovernmental work that you're doing. I like hearing about your meeting with the police department and the park district and the other agencies. It just is nice to see that collaboration. So I think that that's great. So I wanted to thank you for all of that. And then also I'm hoping that the men's East End restroom will not cause any more problems. And that also once the RFP goes out for bid April 1st, that we'll get some good proposals. So anyway, that's it. That's all I've got. So the last item on the agenda is to adjourn. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
I second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned at 7:29 p.m.